Okay, hi everybody. Again, Andrea King for those who have just come in, and today's Pub Health AI Collaborative Network presentation is on vibe coding. So I to share my screen here. You see? All
Yes, we
right,
can see it.
great. And so what is vibe coding? Is that something that you all have heard about? Some of you, a thumbs up. This is familiar. And how many of you have tried it? Okay, all right.
No idea what it is.
Oh, well, I am glad you're here then. So vibe coding is, let's say, so this was a term coined by Andrea earlier this year. He's head of was head of AI for Tesla and is one of the founders of OpenAI, so he knows of which he speaks. This was the concept that he came up with for when you use it's kind of an approach to software development that takes AI first as a stance, where you're using the LLMs or other means of artificial intelligence to generate functional code from your concept. So rather than getting an idea and sitting there and writing line by line the Python or JavaScript or whatever it is you're coding in, you can start by using natural language prompts that focus on the concept you're trying to create first, and then you iterate with your tool of choice to get there. So this is a cursory look at what vibe coding is, how it works, how you can try it. And so to move on, we're looking, if we consider traditional coding, where there's a pretty high barrier to entry for traditional coding, right? You have to learn multiple programming languages often. You have to figure out why your code isn't working, which can be a considerable challenge for debugging, especially if you're doing some sort of complex project that spans different systems. It can take a long time to build a functional tool. Many of us have felt that pain either from the IT side of things, if you get a request in from a group, or the data scientist analyst side of things, where you're just trying to get that functional dashboard to show your analytic work. And it requires folks with dedicated skill sets to be able to do the coding, to do the data engineering and the integration. It's all very highly technical and requires a lot of folks together. And the uh, the alternative here that's sort of emerging is vibe coding, where you describe what you want in plain English to the LLM or to the AI that you're working with, and that generates functional code instantly. And I know that a number of folks in this group who do analytic work regularly, we talk about using AI for coding support, right? As a pair programmer, or to just help you figure out that issue that you have with your code. So AI has a good knowledge of a lot of different coding languages already, and this gives you the ability to leverage that to actually create something. And you can have working prototypes depending on how intensely you are trying to build, in a few minutes to a few hours, or a little bit more if you really need to get into a a fully operational system. The nice thing about it is that anybody can build with the tools. You don't have to know any coding. It's a no code, low code approach uh, to development, but it really does help to have some background in at least one coding or analytic language, where you can understand how to read something that's formatted in a for you know the context of a coding environment. So you have to be able to follow the logic to understand what the AI has done, because if you don't, you may end up with some gaps that you're not anticipating that could end up causing you trouble. But the cool thing about vibe coding is it lets you focus on ideas and not on getting that syntax right, that finicky language that each of the programming languages uses. So sounds fun, right? That's you know great, cool, democratizes AI development. But what's it good for? What can we really do with this? Is it just a widget factory, or can we do something real? So ideation. We all get big ideas occasionally. So I wonder if I could do X. Like, can I make a an app that integrates my fiscal software with our uh, surveillance, aggregate counts, and looks at targets for vaccine distribution and gets a sense of what the ROI is for our, investments in pop-up vaccine clinics, something like that. Just spitballing, but that's the just kind of a wild idea. But you could probably do that, right? Quick proof of concept type things. But you really need subject matter expertise to be able to build what you need, and that's where humans are always going to have value in the world of AI, because we know what we want and we know what we're after and we know what we don't need a lot of the time. So prototyping, seeing folks in the chat saying they use this for, vibe coding type approaches to just get an idea out. That's definitely something that I use it for. And if you're trying to, if you have a prototype that you like the look of, then you can keep going with it and see if you can do more of that uh, full spectrum development work. And so I've been looking at different vibe coding tools over the past few weeks and playing around with them to figure out which ones to actually talk with you all about today. So there you can do this in a lot of different AI platforms and models. Some of them are sort of better than others, I think, and these I like for different reasons. I'm going to start at the bottom with GitHub Copilot and Cursor. So these are tools that are more geared towards the code editing and the code development process, rather than the kind of user interface side of, say, application development. So if you have GitHub Copilot, which I've seen, it seems quite good. It's not something we're using in production yet in Washington, but there's definitely has a lot of capability for generating code and then orchestrating that autonomously, so you can really do kind of full data management type runs. Cursor, again, sort of similar. It's an AI first code editor that is designed to um, really make it a lot easier to do, say, refactoring on your entire code base. Or, if you have all these files for a big system, updating that type of stuff is seriously onerous, especially on, if you have things developed in-house in your IT group. So we had one of our colleagues in our IT department did a preliminary look at Cursor for some of the kind of code management things our IT deals with a lot. So that seemed to play out pretty well. So kind of flagging those more on the straight technical side of things. The ones we're going to look at today are Replit or Replit, not really sure. No pronunciation guide with that one. So this is browser-based development. You describe your app using the language that works for you, and it builds and deploys everything automatically. Same, same basically with Claude and Google AI Studio. Claude makes HTML mockups as its sort of standard. It calls them artifacts, and they're semi-interactive. That you can run in your browser, and it's pretty good for quick dashboards and data visualizations. If you want to just get a sense of how something would look, how something would run, or if you want to get quick user feedback, if you're doing some sort of co-design session and you want to just rapidly bring in changes that people are making, or comments that you're getting on the prototype you're working on. So it's really fast to iterate. Again, similar with Google AI Studio. So it's natural language, and you can get the user interface prototypes directly in a single workflow. And the thing I like about the Google suite of tools is that you can develop, but then they also have the back end for BigQuery and the things on their cloud platform where you can actually store the data and then manage it from the kind of you know engineering, like downstream side of things as well. So it's not just collection. So these, when this, I can send this presentation out. It's got links to all the different products in it. So I'm gonna stop there and see if anyone has any questions or comments or any experience with any of this that you'd like to share.
I'll say my favorite thing about vibe coding is you could also ask the LLMs when you don't know what you're doing, which I'm sure we'll see in the demo, where if something is going wrong, or it's not producing the result that we expected, you're not hitting the wall. Like normally in traditional coding, you would go to a forum online or hope to have a colleague who could help you. But now when you hit that wall, you could go back to the LLM. I find Claude is the most helpful for that, and then ask to debug the code. So I think that is what I find like the most exciting.
Yeah, yeah, same. The all the minutes and hours we've spent in Stack Overflow over the years, like that entire thing is in your LLM now. So pretty much the entire code base you would be querying on Stack Overflow is there. So it's definitely a fast way to troubleshoot, and it may take you a couple attempts though. It's that has to be said. It's not always perfect out of the gate. Ronald, go ahead.
Um, I guess in line with the your earlier comment, like it definitely helps to have some coding experience. I'm after a few months of practice and kind of landing on it's sort of essential because you have to know enough to understand contextualizing for the LLM, and that actually can be very difficult to understand when the LLM's advice in maybe whatever context is assumed is actually quite good. Like, hey, this code looks like it'll work and looks sound and might even run in your stack, but in fact is not doing what you think it's doing because you and the LLM are not actually operating under the same assumptions.
Yes,
And being
yes.
able to diagnose and detect that, I think, is pretty bread and butter for programmers, especially when they're working across each other's code, like when you're collaborating, that
Mm,
could be lost in someone who's more focused on, well, I want a computer to do this thing for me. And this thing told me if I feed it this code, this Python script should do my thing.
yep, absolutely. Andy.
Yeah, I think I've totally seen that what Ronald was just describing. I think I've seen that happen and had to correct the the LLM to give me what I was actually wanted it to do. But I just wanted to make a comment about GitHub Copilot. I haven't really been able to, this is more coming from demos that I've seen, but I've heard that it's getting better with specific languages, but that right now it's really good for Python or some of the more popular languages, whereas there's a really, really big code base. It's getting a little better for things like R. Um, and the fun thing about GitHub Copilot that I've seen people do is not only will it do the like searching code base, but it can answer questions for you about the troubleshooting based on like other GitHub information that's in there, like the commits and comments and just there's other data in GitHub that not just the code bases themselves that is accessible through Copilot that you can use to sort of like teach yourself more about coding. And for me, I was using it for learning how to build R packages and stuff. So there's a lot of R packages on GitHub.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a good point that you can use it to access the information you need to build your own skills as well as just having it fix your, immediate problem. Good point. So let's talk a little bit about the approach, since that's where we are here. So for vibe coding specifically, you want to have a vision of what you want. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to know what you're getting and have a plan for how to get there, right? Like what kind of iterations might you need to go through to get the LLM to understand the context of what you want. And so you need to be specific about what you want. You need to have maybe some examples or a link to guidance for it to follow. Asking for one change at a time is a good approach. Add this, add this, add this. LLMs can get a little bit confused if you throw too much at them, for it to know like which thing to do first. Sometimes it gets into a bit of a tailspin. So, one change at a time. If you have technical constraints that you're trying to account for, then that would be when you would want to mention it. Put that into the prompts that you're developing, and then if you have similar tools or things that you like, you can have it reference the other tools that you may want it to use. Say like build this, this needs to output JSON files or something like that, right? And context specific prompting is what I think Ronald was alluding to. Like you need to understand your own context, your working context, and then be able to communicate that to the model so you can provide it the relevant background information and situational details and constraints that it needs to work with to sort of help it give you more accurate and relevant and tailored output based on what you're interested in developing. And I cannot stress enough: review, iterate, repeat. You are going to go through loops and loops, no matter whether you're writing code yourself or whether you're vibe coding. But the iterative process, you just have to sort of stick with it to get what you want, or to realize when you've hit a wall and you need to take a different approach. And test thoroughly, deploy carefully. I have kept my vibe coding experiments in the experimental realm. I have not deployed anything like in any sort of operational sense that I built with vibe coding. You could, but you could, that's when you need to have additional verification. You need to work with your IT department. You need to check for security. There's a lot of things that the kind of typical software adoption process would be relevant here for many things, but at least it gives you the chance to show what you're after, and then you can work on developing that more fully so that it's deployable in a way that's going to adhere to your institutional standards. And so for a development phase, when you're just practicing with these things, you can use synthetic data. If you have data that mimics real patterns, great. Build with public tools. I use the browser-based things for all of this. But obviously, if you need to deploy something securely, you're going to need to import that tool you've developed into, say, your local Claude installation or your agency's Copilot instance. And again, test thoroughly before connecting to any real data. And you still need to document whether you like it or not. That's just always part of the job, but AI can make the documentation a bit easier as well. And if you really want to take these things to a production phase, you really need to make sure that everything is access controlled and secured, just as you would for an application you were buying from a vendor or building in house. So, what can we do with it right now? Right, let's try it out. Those of you who've been around a while know that I have no problem doing things live and seeing how it goes. Right, so this is the fun stuff. So we're going to try to rapidly create a basic foodborne illness case investigation tool. And we're going to use Claude, Google AI Studio, and Replit, and take a look at that and see what they give us. So I have, let me pull up the prompt here. I need to escape out of this for a little bit. So I've got our tools up here, and the you know what? Before I get into it, I'm going to pause for another check-in. I see a bunch in the chat here. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share out? Or questions?
Just real quick, I had just posted an experience I had last month. I was speaking with an undergraduate, or sorry, a graduate student. This is the UW Biomedical and Health Informatics program. That's my alma mater. And he was describing like he does not even code for his statisticals and informatics work. It's all effectively vibe coding. His undergrad is CS, but essentially he coaches it stepwise through like, okay, like he's thinking ahead. Here's the compartmentalized problems that I would divide into functions. And sometimes he'll even ask, how would you divide it? But he creates those using an LLM, and then he'll run an LLM like GPT to then create a thing that, given those functions, solves the problem that he has, which would be like, hey, like here's the data description, here's my statistical problem. I want it to look like this. How to like implement that, and then generate documentation of that process. And then he essentially cleans that up and does it. But he's like, yeah, right, like maybe 3 lines of code. But he is applying like his coding experience practices to it. But I was just thinking, like, we're not ready to manage those graduates. Like we start like so that is actually one of my big concerns. Like that is the next wave of, the best trained people graduating, like a grad student in health informatics, and that's going to be his approach. And if the results are good, then are we ready to, one, evaluate those results, and two, work with them as a peer worker?
Yeah, that's a that's a great point. I think that it flips the process of code development conceptually. I mean, sometimes you kind of know roughly, loosely where you're going, and you just take a lot of different paths to get there. But it kind of forces you to have that deliberate design front of mind as you're aiming towards it. And it's a different approach, and I wonder how it will go. I think I saw Jamie's hand first, and then oh no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Caitlin was up. Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
Hi, Caitlin, did you want to go first?
If you were first, Jamie, that's fine.
I don't know who was.
You can go. I'm having my computer screen is like blacking out. So you go
Oh
ahead
no.
and
Okay, I'll go first.
try
You
to fix
solve
this.
that.
Okay.
So I think that point regarding managing really smart programmers that have the latest tricks and tools, I mean, I'm having some anxiety about it. And I have even more because I had 2 RFPs posted, one for cybersecurity and one for AI technical support. And we've removed them. We're no longer going to be accepting bids on those 2 projects for a couple different reasons. I'm hoping that we can revisit those in the future in some type of modified form. But once again, working with a tribal epidemiology center in Phoenix, I feel like I'm losing ground, right? I feel like I'm behind on this. And as a director, I'm not supposed to show any weakness, and I'm supposed to act like I know all of these things, but that's just not my style. I'm pretty comfortable being vulnerable and admitting what I know and of course what I don't know. And the thing that always catches us are the things that we didn't know that we didn't know. So I'm a little bit concerned about how we're going to manage these tools moving forward and then work with folks that are coming out of school that have a lot of experience with these tools when we don't, and our organization might not necessarily be on board with all this stuff. I feel somebody might feel very constricted. So those are just some of my concerns as I'm using email from 2016. Yeah, good points.
Yeah, that's a very fair point too. If the recent graduates are coming in with this AI first mindset for coding and kind of problem solving generally, but our institutions are not generally set up to we're not AI heavy, right? We're government. This is it's that's why this network exists and has so many members, because we're all trying to figure this out. And that capacity building is such a huge piece of being able to take our field forward for the next 10 years in a way that's going to leverage the talent that we've got coming in. All right, Caitlin, good on your computer? Go ahead.
I seem to be good. And I don't think I'm really adding anything to the discussion though. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I'm still at the point where, like I try these models, I play around with them, but then like I go ahead and do my brute force coding to make sure I'm getting, what I think is the right result. Like I just have this trust issue or something. So like, other people can peer review that code, make sure I've set it up correctly. But like, how do we do that with AI? Like, I'm still at that stage where I'm like, again, concerned, but like, this is a great new tool. Like, how do we use it to our advantage?
Yeah, indeed. You're not the only one. Let's see, Nicole, go ahead.
Caitlin, Ronald, everyone has touched on some really good points here. So I want to reiterate, thank you for bringing this up and creating the space to talk through this. Here at the state, these conversations are also happening. From a personal perspective, I am kind of very concerned to learn that our most recent grads maybe don't have that coding foundation. If this is the tools that they use, my point of view is how do we optimize that, and how can we optimize their code? But from a security point of view too, if your code's already being shared in an LLM, it's kind of already out of our scope, out of our reach. And what implications does that have? How are we addressing this? How are we managing these conversations? So I would be interested in continuing this conversation on other calls too, just to find out more what are different states doing with this. So that's my 2 cents here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would be happy to host an off-cycle call or something for anybody who really wants to dig in on the just bring the stuff that you're sharing from your jurisdiction. We obviously don't have to record it, but we could really hash through some of the challenges if folks would like to do that. So I'm happy to set that up. It's a great idea. Thank you. Nilu, see your hand up.
Yeah, actually, I think for getting the best result from LLM in the context of coding, having some background experience and knowledge of coding is needed. And unfortunately, there is a conversation that's going on that unfortunately right now it is not a good time for new graduate to get the job because they don't have that background knowledge and experience in order to use LLM to get the best result. And many companies prefer to have people in their companies with previous experiences, coding experiences, and they do not hire the new ones because exactly of that reason. And there is a suggestion that we may change the education system in a way that get our graduates ready to enter into the work market, thinking ahead and providing, including some of those experiences they need to use, that they need to in order to leverage LLM in their work in the curriculum for them. So yeah, I just want to mention that.
Yeah, and you're reminding me that there's actually a survey that's uh, sent to me yesterday. Some of you may have seen it already because I think it's been circulating for a couple weeks at this point. But Georgia State University School of Public Health is doing a survey specifically for the reason you just mentioned, Nilu. Like how do they support graduate curriculum development for AI in a way that's going to both like feed the field of public health and epidemiology and all of our work, prepare students to enter the field, but also help them be skilled up appropriately for AI. So if you haven't taken that survey, they'd be really grateful for our input. And if anyone here is in academia or working with academic partners on curriculum development for AI, just tag yourself in the chat and I'll put you in touch with them because they're looking for folks who are doing this thinking nationally to make their efforts a bit more meaningful. So uh, let us know and I can connect. And I think that Dagon, did I say that correctly? Dagon?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was finding the unmute button, and thank you. Yeah, it's a different name, Dagan. Just kind of a conversation here that I often think and reflect is, and again, sorry, I haven't been with previous meetings, so I apologize if this is repeating, but I think that there is what are resources, and I think you were alluding to for better practices that allow people the flexibility to experiment and get work and minimize the negative outcomes, like having some bumpers around that with use of the tools. Because I think there is a lot of systems effects here. I work in Ninja and we talk about systemic systems theory and systemic effects on built environment and constructs that kind of push people in a way and instead of just individual behavior. And so I think when we talk about utilization of these tools, how we frame this in a way that we create a systems approach to help, knowing all the pressures and all of the pushings that are happening there to kind of maximize, have some bumpers, and then maximize people's ability to be productive and be creative, but also lessen or minimize potential negative effects as well.
Indeed. Yeah, best practices for vibe coding are sort of similar for best practices for AI coding. And I think, so we have enough time to get through the demos. I'm going to go ahead and jump over there now so you can just see how some of this stuff works in action. And then, with the time remaining, we can chat about how, how we're finding it and what we would do to change. So I created a really basic prompt, which we'll share out later, but I'm going to paste that into all three of these different tools and we'll let them run and take a look at it. Doesn't take so long. So we'll start with Claude here. So I'm asking it to create an interactive, user-friendly case investigation and contact tracing application that a public health department can use to collect data from people experiencing foodborne illness symptoms. So it should collect, relevant demographic and symptom information, potential exposures, allow for laboratory results to be entered, and allow for easy transfer of case information across jurisdictions when appropriate, right? So this is like a basic kind of EpiX-ish idea. And I am also giving it CDC's outbreak guidelines for multi-state outbreaks as part of that prompt. Or this is the foodborne outbreaks investigation steps. All right, so we're going to use this prompt across all of these different tools. So Claude, this is using Sonnet 4.5. I have a monthly $20 subscription to Claude. You can probably do the same thing on the free model. Google AI Studio is free under a Google account, and you could upgrade it, but this is the base freebie. And Replit is free to start, but you hit a paywall very quickly, as I found out. You can really not really do a whole lot for free, but I spent I think $15 and we'll get the demo running, right? So Claude Go, Google AI Studio Go, and Replit Go. So they're all cruising through the instructions I gave them, and I see the comment there that the $20 a month Claude is more capable than the free one. Yes, I find that is also true, and it's pretty helpful. I like Claude. I'm liking Claude more and more the more I use it. So we've got so Claude is parsing the information here, pulling in the investigation steps and guidelines that I sent it, and now it's chewing through a whole bunch of JSON code to create what I've asked it for. Let's see what's happening on Google AI Studio over here. So it's creating something called epitrace for me, and it's been running for a little over a minute now, and is doing this sort of modular style. So it's doing different components for the case investigation forms and whatnot. And over here, Replit is also doing the, kind of a similar approach, right? Telling me which features it's going to include. And then let's see. So now it's telling me that it's, so this one did 20 seconds of work. And is everybody seeing this still? Seeing the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Sure. All right. So this was 20 seconds of work for it to revise, or consider an approach to my plan. It's going to do a web app with a Postgres SQL backend, so keeping it open source, which is nice. So I have the option now in this of building the entire app, which takes about 20 minutes for it to do like a full scope of work, or start with the design just to see what the prototype would be, and then you can iterate on the visual features. So we'll just start with the design in the interest of time. I'll let that run. Let's go back and check what Claude's done here. So Claude is still working. And let's see where we are with Google AI Studio. Okay, we have some results over here to start with. And it's baked a checkpoint into the code, so we could always restore back to here if we start iterating and don't really like the direction we're going in. And so let's take a look at what we have here. So we've got a case overview. It lets us log in as a particular user if we wanted to. And so the dashboard doesn't have anything on it yet, probably, but let's say we start an investigation. So this gives us patient demographics. Okay, we can enter data into here. Let's say Mickey Mouse was born in, let's say, Mickey Mouse was born then. Okay, and okay, so you can fill in all that information. So we've got clinical information, illness onset, duration, whether the case was hospitalized, just some radio buttons showing symptoms here where you could multi-select, which is good. So little things like that those of us who do system development type work, you want to make sure that you can have more than one symptom, right? So that's the kind of stuff that you would want to be really thorough about checking. You can do exposure history. If we want to add exposure, we could say Disney World, the restaurant. You can give a list of things for the, whatever, last week. And so this gives you a case analysis code summary of the data that's been entered. So let's see, run case analysis. Not even sure what that would do, but it's not necessarily something I asked for. But it gives you its opinion on the completeness of the case. But this is severely incomplete, so basically it can't do an epidemiologic assessment, which is good because it shouldn't. I gave it basically no information. But it could give you a potential indicator if there was some sort of, if you refine that a little bit for the inputs, you might be able to get some information out of there. So save that. You can start do another one. You can look at the dashboard of active cases you have here. The stuff for jurisdictions and settings. Not sure, but I think this would allow you to share it if you had it, but you would need to kind of dig into that a little bit more. And let's see if Claude is finished. All right, so Claude took a similar approach. Auto-generated case ID. You could actually put the investigator's name in, whatever you think is the case status, patient demographics again, and you can have a multi-select for demographics, contact information, and the jurisdiction you're looking from. You can save or export the case, which is very cool. Clinical information. Obviously, you wouldn't put any real information in any of this. This is all just, a mock-up, but the symptoms for Claude, this is way more symptoms. That's great because a lot of these things could be relevant, especially when you have a pathogen that your unknown pathogen. Exposure window, the food that they ate, consumption date, where was it purchased, prepared by. Those are all things that we ask for case investigation, right? We have laboratory results. You could put those in here with notes, additional contacts. If you're doing some sort of contact tracing, you could use this for that. And then if you need to transfer it to another jurisdiction, that's where we had that was something specifically that I asked it to do because I know that like interjurisdictional transfer is kind of a headache sometimes. All right, and back over to Replit here. So it's going. I don't love how it scrolls past all these things. So basically, it develops it, but it scrolls it out, and I guess it's still working here a little bit, but yeah, it's still designing. But we'll see how that goes. But the other two are finished. So for this Google one, I would want to iterate a bit more and make sure that this kind of was enhanced a little bit more. This doesn't off the jump, it's not quite as robust as the one from Claude is. I mean, this output from Claude is really, I mean, for about what 4 or 5 minutes worth of work, that's pretty wild. Did I see a hand or hear a hand here? Heard a ding. Questions? I see some requests for the code generated by the tools. Absolutely, I can pull that out. Actually, I can just package the demos. I'll package the products they created and share those out so that you can just have the whole thing. Joe, go ahead.
Can you show the back end at all, or is there a back end to look at, like what the data structure is?
So we can look at. So this is not. I would say that this is not fully hooked up to a database yet. But But if we want to look at what it's done for the code, you can actually see, so it's using React and some JavaScript to do the rendering. And I would need to look at it a little bit more to see. So the Claude interface, I'm sure, is not storing code somewhere unless there's unless it's just sort of in memory in the browser. Um, so we can't actually export the case, right? Um, the Google one might actually be hooked up to the back end, but I don't think that we've gone all the way through that yet. Because if you just look at what's been built, it's just the TypeScript pages basically for the visuals. This Replit is okay. It looks like it's done now, which is good because we've got to get a few minutes left here to take a look at it. So this has it's built the dashboard, uh, just kind of top summary statistics, active, pending status for the case, new case information, has demographics, um, all the required fields. Of course, it's going to make me actually go through this and put it in.
Just a comment that if you use Claude Code, not Claude, it does maintain a code base that can be referenced. And if you use Claude Code and you actually wanted to integrate it with your systems, you could use an MCP, so a model context protocol, which is definitely something could talk about another time. But basically, that is how you connect that data, the code that's being generated from the LLM with your other software systems. Um, so that's one particular difference. Sometimes, you may want more than one tool open if you're troubleshooting code in one place versus using one of these other systems. Um, but that's one way to approach it.
Yeah, and all of this code is tends to be stored, so I can pull that out, or I can just ask the models to package the code out. MCP is very cool for making models talk across different platforms. It can be a little squirrely, but we can get into that at another point. But this is a pretty robust output here from Replete, and its whole business model is vibe coding, so it should be good. But it's let you put your lab results in, and I think you could probably configure something like this to ingest HL7 results if you wanted to. That obviously that's more work. This is just front end design, but the back end hooking up of this stuff is probably a bit more. It's more work, but it's also like you can get that in hand pretty easily. So cases pending transfer here. If I want to look at reports, so you can do a weekly summary, an outbreak analysis, a pathogen summary. I mean, obviously you could customize these in any way you would want to. And then let's say here you have the option for like the visual app. You can, build the functionality out on it, and then we'll see if we can actually get into the development side of see if we can do if it does back end development. That probably takes it a little bit longer, but it's yeah. I mean, happy to do like a follow up on this development database. It's probably just telling me what I've been spending this month. I don't know if that's the database for the tool or not. Still trying to figure that out. Any questions, thoughts? Who's shocked? Right. See some jaws on the floor here. That's what I aim for in these meetings. I want to show you all where the state of the art is for AI now, because it's going to matter to us hugely in our professional lives, and you know now and in the future. So, but think about the development timelines we work with in government and how much faster it could be. And if you had an agentic design behind these things, you could orchestrate your case investigation with your electronic case reporting with, you could put an entire system together using the tools that you can, go get anywhere. You don't have to spend millions of dollars on custom systems or maintenance contracts. Just saying. But so this one, I think Replit is probably gonna. It looks like it's doing the starting a real API for the back end that it can query. So I'm going to let this run and I'm going to see what happens with it. And if I can get a fully functional tool that I can package up and send out, you all can have it and just play around with it and let me know what you find. Because it's I want to see how usable and scalable this approach is as well. And in with 1 minute to spare. Questions? Last thoughts?
Hey, I actually have a quick question here.
Sure.
So could I change the prompt and be like, I want you to develop this for these specific tools that we are currently utilizing at our companies? And would it do so?
Yeah, you could and it should, I will say. It's that's the context specific prompting that I was talking about earlier, where like if you need it to sort of fit into a certain kind of tech stack, or there are limitations based on how your tech is configured, then you can have it navigate. Or if you need this to run in Azure Cloud and a certain kind of thing, then
okay. And if it can't, does it say it can't? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, you can tell it to. It's not going to just necessarily volunteer.
It's not going to just be like, no. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, the models are a bit obsequious generally. They're very like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. What a clever thought. No, just be like, if you can't do this, say so, or,
right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's really developing out a whole front-end interface here for us with a back end on it. So I will package these up. Allie does our notes, and I will see how long this runs, and I will try to give it all over, and you can play with it. Again, do not put any person data in this. You all know that, though, and should be fun. Thanks so much for joining. It was great to see you all. And we have a couple sessions coming up before the end of the year. So this is next week. We also have an agentic collaboration design session from Chris Collins at Austin Public Health. He has built like entire agent systems using just voice prompts. It's amazing. So you'll get to see that. Come check that out next time. And then Nilu from Eau Claire is going to do a retrieval augmented generation talk for us on the 18th. So those will be put out in the meeting summary too. All right, everyone, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.